And to be honest, every time I make it for a crowd, most of the crowd loves it too. So I'm gonna walk you through one of my favorite pulled pork recipes. It tends to be a family favorite. It's one of the few ways I can get my brother to roll out of bed and come over for lunch earlier on a Saturday. So I'm gonna start with a nice hot skillet, pour in some onions. Everything good starts with onions. Add a little more oil to that pan. I want them to be nice and glazy. Get a little bit of color on them, but not too much. Give them just a bit of a quick start. I'm gonna add some cumin and some ancho chili powder, which is basically chili powder made with anchos. Okay, that's gonna start to get a little bit sticky on the bottom of your pan because spices love to stick and burn on the bottom of pans, so just mix it around there pretty quick. Then start to dump in a couple of liquids to give you a little bit of time, some apple cider vinegar, little Worcestershire. Some garlic's gonna go into the pan. And then because basically the goal of this dish is to get sort of a sweet and sour and tangy flavor, I'm also gonna throw in some brown sugar. You're gonna have to break that up. And before that sticks, you're gonna add a sweet chili sauce. Now there's a whole bunch of different sweet chili sauces that come from different areas of the world. You can get some Thai, you can get some good old-fashioned North American ones. It doesn't really matter. You can play with different chilies, but the idea is that we want something sweet and something hot in there. So grab just one of those good old-fashioned bottles, pour it right in. It's uber simple. Then we're gonna let all of this goodness come up to a boil on its own. And while that is starting to cook, we're gonna go visit our pork shoulder. All right. So this is the pork shoulder. You could go with pork shoulder or pork butt. As you can see on the meat, there's a whole bunch of fat and connective tissues in here. That's not something to be afraid of. Fat in meat actually adds a ton of flavor when you cook it. So I'm gonna put this in the crock pot, and when I put the sauce over top, all of that connective tissue is gonna have about 4 hours to just slowly break down and melt, and that fat is gonna melt out ever so slightly and create all these beautiful little fingers of pork, and then it's just gonna absorb all the flavor, and you're gonna have the most tender, beautiful cuts of meat. So now I'm just gonna put this in my crock pot. Now the reason you're not seeing me pull this out of my fridge is because I'm about to give you some information I hope you handle responsibly. When you are cooking meat, it's generally a good rule of thumb to bring that meat to room temperature. Now that doesn't mean that you pull it out and go to work, as you all know, but there are people out there who might. You just wanna give it about an hour for a big thick piece of meat like that to take the chill off, okay? So basically that's so that we're not trying to cook it from cold, and then by the time the middle gets cooked and the outside's already been cooked, then you've got a bit of overcooking going on. You with me? Okay, now I'm gonna pour this hot sauce over top of the pork. And this is why I love this recipe, because once this goes in, all I have to do is pour off my skillet. There's very few dishes involved here, you might notice, which for me on the weekend is pretty key. I'm gonna throw that in. For more tips and recipes, visit us at foodies.ca.